Do you want to learn how to tattoo but you're not sure how the process works from start to finish? I'll break it down for you in this video into 10 simple steps so that you can understand the process. Make sure to watch to the end so you don't miss any crucial steps. As a tattooist, you've got to understand the principles of hygiene inside out. This is to protect yourself as well as your future clients, because if you don't know what you're doing, it's super easy to make a simple mistake, infect yourself or your client with hepatitis, HIV or any other bloodborne disease. I highly recommend that you take an online cross-contamination course. There are many available and they're generally not expensive. This is where your drawing skills come in. Create a design that fits the body part that you're going to tattoo on. You need to start to think in 3 dimensions and not on flat paper. I use an iPad and Apple Pencil to create my designs. I highly recommend this setup as it's easy to take a photo of the client's arm or body part and then create a design to fit on the iPad. You then print it out and turn it into a stencil. Make sure you're working on your drawing skills and improving them all the time. Your workstation is your sterile area where you lay out all your equipment and inks. I use a 2-tier stainless steel hospital trolley. The top tier is my sterile area, and here I have my tattoo machine, Vaseline and process cream, ink caps, and a squeeze bottle of my secret wipe down fluid. And on the bottom tier, I have my power supply, a stack of kitchen towels for wiping, and a box of gloves. You can either hand trace a stencil or use a stencil machine. I highly recommend that you invest in a machine because basically hand tracing a stencil can take forever if it's a complex design and you only get 2 or 3 goes out of it. So the nightmare scenario is that you spend half an hour tracing it, then you mess up the application and then you have to trace it all over again. You'll be behind time and the client will be really pissed off. So do yourself a favour when you can, buy a machine. Applying a stencil is a whole art form on its own. You need to practice making them and applying them to yourself or your volunteer friends. Get used to the way the stencil wraps around the body. Again, this will help you to start to think in 3D. Practice creating stencils that are bigger than A4. You'll need to stick 2 or 3 sheets together. And use an application cream like Stencil stuff. Don't use the old traditional method of speed stick, as this has a risk of cross-contamination using it with different clients. After all that preparation, you're now ready to tattoo. Again, you should be practicing this on fake skin, not on a human. You need to get all the lining of your tattoo down, because once you have the lining on, you can relax as you don't need to worry about losing your stencil then. So concentrate on creating clean and smooth lines. Move your hands smoothly and fully concentrate on perfecting each line. At this stage, you may also want to consider line weights. Tattoos look much more dynamic if they have both thin and thick lines. You may want bold lines around the edge of an object to emphasise it. I'm using the machine from the Dragonhawk starter kit here that I reviewed in a previous video. I'll pop a link in the description below if you want to check that out. And I'm using a 7 round liner, 1 black ink and Fusion red ink. This is the point now where you start to bring some dynamism into the design and you can make it look 3D and alive. Grey shading, where you use various dilutions of black ink, is very effective. You don't need to buy pre-mixed grey shading, you can create your own dilutions. I'll cover this in another video. When you're drawing, practice pencil shading to get better at understanding how shading works. Try to make your tattoo shading graduations smooth and velvety. This takes practice though. tattoo has coloured elements, this is the time to do it. When you're tattooing, you work from dark to light so that you don't contaminate light colours with darker ones. So lay out your inks going from the darkest cold colour ranges, which are blues and greens, to the lightest warm colour ranges, which are like reds, pinks and yellows, and then work your way up through the colours. This way you avoid smearing darks into light colours and making the tattoo look muddy and murky. Make sure you pack the colour in solidly and avoid holidays or missing patches. If you were working with a real human client, this is the point to discuss aftercare. The tattoo is only as good as the aftercare, so you have to make sure your client understands what they need to do. Most tattoo infections happen after the client has left the studio in the first few hours. However, if that happens, you'll get the blame for it. So people do crazy things and they always want to touch and poke the fresh new tattoo with like mucky hands. The friends will want to poke it too. So for that reason, I highly recommend you use a dressing film. That way you can immediately cover the tattoo for 24 hours away from poking fingers. So explain things they can't do, such as swimming or saunas, and have a printed sheet so they can take it away with them, as people tend not to listen to what you're telling them as they're buzzing with their new tattoo. So you're done and it's time to clean up. Put all needles and sharps in a sharps bin for hygienic disposal. Wrap up all the inks and everything else that you've used from your sterile area and bag them up in a biohazard bag. Wipe down all your chairs, beds, everything that you've used with a hospital grade sterile spray. Spray down, wipe down all your workstation, all your equipment. I totally recommend that you run a fully disposable system so that you don't need to autoclave anything and bother with any of that. It's so much more hygienic. And then finally, wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water and then use an antibacterial solution to make sure everything's completely clean. So, those are the basics of tattooing for beginners. The more you practice, the more things will start to fit together seamlessly. It's a little bit like driving a car. At first, you struggle to remember what to do, but as you get better, all the things start to flow together more easily. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. I'll pop the details of all the equipment I used in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Disclaimer, this video is for entertainment only. Anything that you do is at your own risk.